a lot of people in South Africa can see that it's not a fair society. And unless you make it a little bit less unfair, we're not going to have a future. It's just not right. And the township putting fiber internet, affordable fiber internet in townships is a great lever to move the needle. Moves the needle for jobs, moves the needle for education, just for boredom. And we're building at Alex. We've got about almost 8,000 homes in Alex.
Okay.
And Alex must be the most densely populated township in South Africa. There's just people living on top of each other. So how do you find your way through the shacks to dig a hole, plant a pole, and then from that pole, you've got to connect all these homes. I mean, some of our poles, they connect 32 homes to a single pole. Just give up on that. Just ignore it all. There's absolutely no outcome from any of that, including from the cell phone operators and their own obligations for schools and stuff. There's no outcome. Can you look around? Can you see of all the billions of rands that have been spent in the last 20 or 30 years, any outcomes? Anybody's life been connected? Nothing. None of that works.
This episode of ITWeb TV is brought to you in association with ITWeb Security Summit, the must-attend gathering of IT, security, and business decision makers. Visit itweb.co.za for more information. Welcome to the latest edition of ITWeb TV. Today we are joined by well-known South African entrepreneur who has been recognized for establishing businesses that aim to bridge the digital divide in South Africa. He is currently the CEO of Fibertime and has also had some involvement with companies such as Mxit as well as Project Isizwe. Welcome to ITWeb TV, Alan.
Thanks very much for having me. And just to correct you, I'm actually not the CEO. You're a very bad CEO. But I'm the founder of Fibertime. Yeah.
Founder of Fibertime. Awesome. Yeah, Alan, I've left out a number of companies that you have been involved in. I just mentioned like a few well-known like Mxit, iBurst, and so forth. Which other companies have you been involved in?
My first business was cell phone, but it's cell phone tracking. We had a business called World of Avatar, which actually bought Mxit. Had a big business called Herotel, which we sold Vodcom a couple of years ago. Yeah, so I've had a few businesses. Probably lost more money than I made. Well, had more businesses that lost money than businesses that made money, but learned a lot of lessons along the way about how to get ahead in telecoms.
So how do you decide to invest in a business? You mentioned that you've lost some money earlier.
Firstly, I don't invest in businesses. I mean, when I put money in the JSE will collapse. And I tried investing in private companies. It didn't really work for me. I'm not a good judge of what's a good business or not when I'm not running it myself. So nowadays, all I do is I put my money into my own. I give any savings I have to my brother-in-law, who's a really good fund manager. And then my own businesses, I put my own money into, and I look after that, and I concentrate on one thing at a time.
Looking back at all these companies that we've mentioned, which one do you still have fond memories of?
Mxit. Yeah, Mxit was the big one. I mean, I only ran it for a year, but we inherited something beautiful there. And then built an amazing business, had great staff, very happy customers. People still today just talk about Mxit, very, very big success story. It's a pity I messed it up, to be honest. But I learned a lot of lessons out of all of that. But iBurst was great as well. iBurst, we built a fantastic company culture. I miss all my stuff at iBurst. And then and Herotel was also great. Every one of my businesses has actually been great. And there have been one or two bad apples along the way, people-wise, but for the most part, I've loved every second.
Awesome. You mentioned that you messed up at Mxit. Can you give more details, like what exactly happened? Because I was wondering, like earlier, like what really went wrong with Mxit to be overtaken by the likes of WhatsApp and all these other instant messaging platforms?
Look, we bought Mxit 2011, and we knew there were problems. We knew that it needed a smartphone refresh. We knew it needed a good business model, and we knew that WhatsApp was coming to kind of steamroll it. And I kind of messed up a whole lot of things. I messed up the smartphone. Our first iteration of turning it into a nice smartphone app was a mess. We could have done it differently. I think we probably would have done it differently. Eventually I got it right, but I ran out of time. I messed up the business model. We had a kind of a prepaid distribution model lined up, and that doesn't pan out. I mean, you can read about it in the book. There's a whole chapter on a book called Life Lessons. And then probably the biggest mistake I made was strategy. We try to position ourselves as an alternative to WhatsApp, as like a instant messaging social media platform. And that's just making yourself a head-to-head competitor with a giant American company, which in retrospect was really stupid. It just showed how incompetent I was at the time. If you're going to build a business in South Africa, try pick something that's not head-to-head with somebody from America. And maybe if we'd picked something like, say, a dating platform, maybe we were Tinder before Tinder, we would have had more time to entrench ourselves and build a network effect. We didn't. I ran out of time. My partners ran out of faith and confidence in me, and a year later I was kicked out. So I didn't have a chance to fix any of the mistakes I made. But it was all largely my own unconscious incompetence that led to what happened later.
Interesting. What about Project Isizwe? What motivated you to come up with this idea of free public Wi-Fi, and is it still going on as you expected when you envisaged?
So Project Isizwe is a non-profit. We started in 2013. Just to take a step back, and in 2010 I'd woken up one day and kind of said to myself, South Africa is massively unequal. I mean, I'm a beneficiary of generations of systemic white privilege. And I'm like the pinnacle of it. I mean, my dad started Vodcom, So I have so many advantages, and my kids have all these advantages already. And when my daughter was 2 years old, I was watching her using the internet, using one of our devices on the internet, and I just thought, this is totally unfair. Not only has she got all the advantages that I've got from my own background and books and all of the great schools and stuff, but she's going to have unlimited access to the internet from a young age, whereas the kids in Kayamandi, the township down the road, don't have unlimited internet because it's too expensive. And then I decided to start businesses from that point on, trying to make money by connecting people to the internet. And we did World of Avatar, we did Mxit, and then after the Mxit debacle, I started a non-profit called Project Isizwe. And the idea behind Project Isizwe was to help government provide public free Wi-Fi in townships. So we ended up succeeding in convincing the city of Tshwane. The mayor at the time was Koshiense Ramakgopa. They bought into the dream, and we rolled out at the time the country's biggest municipal Wi-Fi network. It still is the biggest. And Project Isizwe from there, it never actually succeeded in convincing any other municipalities to do so. So that is the once off. And I think Altec or Altron now run that network.
Yeah.
And Project Isizwe evolved into an NGO that focuses on school connectivity for schools, particularly poor schools or rural schools. A lady by the name of Shireen Powell's the CEO, an amazing lady. And they found a real niche there, like absolutely powerful, effective niche where corporates provide money, and she manages to make sure that the schools get connectivity.
Okay. So why was it difficult to convince other municipalities to also have like something big as Project Isizwe?
Look, I loved working with City of Tshwane. I mean, it opened my eyes to the challenges of being in government and politicians and all of that. I mean, it's easy to judge from the outside, but then when you deal with them, you realize, geez, this is not easy. And you can really move the needle when you work with the government. I don't think you can actually change South Africa without the government. So the private sector can't save our country. You need the public sector to do it. We were very lucky. The mayor was not corrupt. We never got asked for any kickbacks. The mayor bought into our vision. So, it's not often you find a leader that actually thinks the internet for everyone's going to be a good thing. Surprisingly, not often. And lastly, very competent. It is a competent administration. So we've tried all the other municipalities in the country, almost every single one, all the major metros and a lot of the small towns. And the gist of it was either they were utterly incapable of doing the project, or like in KZN, a lot of people wanted like side meetings and wanted little kind of bribes, or they just didn't think it was important, So we just got very lucky in Tshwane, but I also just think it's not really a good idea to build a project on the back of government funding. If you're going to work with the government, great. Just do it without the government money, because that's a dangerous source of sustainability.
Okay. Interesting. You also mentioned your dad, like he founded Vodacom. Yeah. What lessons have you learned from your dad? Is it because of your dad that you are involved more in telecommunications and technology?
Yeah, no, my dad's a legend. Started Vodacom. Was at the post office before, then Telkom, and then Vodacom. I learned millions of business lessons from him. The older I get, the more grateful and more I realize how lucky I was to have a mentor like that. He had to talk to me. He's kind of famously not very friendly or talkative, but he had to talk to me. I was his son. Yeah. So I learned all these lessons, and I used his name shamelessly in my life. I mean, it opens lots of doors. I think it's Alan Knott-Craig, the big guy, but then I walk in and it's too late for them to cancel the meeting. But I learned... I'm in telecoms because of him. I was at the dinner table every night talking about telecoms, and I realized the massive impact. My dad believed that cell phones changed people's lives, and it did. And I wanted to be involved in an industry that you could make a difference as well as make money. Also learned a few lessons about how not to do things. So I've tried to apply those in my own life and business career. But yeah, I mean, I've been very grateful and very lucky to have an old man like my dad, and I'm just trying to build on what he's been given me. And he's given me not just a great education and a financial safety net, but and not just lessons, but a great reputation. He had a great reputation, and I'm trying to do something with it.
Awesome. So are people still calling you Alan Knott-Craig Jr. or you are now just...
It depends on the age. I can tell how old you are when you call me Junior or not. And if you call me Alan Thomas, that means you knew me when I was a kid, because my parents always used to call me Alan Thomas. But yeah, I don't really mind what you call me, to be perfectly honest. Yeah.
All right, awesome. And also looking at Herotel, can you just maybe briefly share like how you started this fiber company, and when and why did you decide to leave the company?
Herotel was a great adventure. I think 2013 or 2014, I read a book called Cable Cowboys about John Malone in America, how he rolled up the cable industry and created a giant company that he sold to AT&T for $52 billion US, I think in 2002 or 3. And I thought, geez, there's an opportunity to do that in South Africa. But instead of cable companies, we can buy wireless internet service providers. In the absence of a decent telecom ADSL service, all the small towns in South Africa had kind of solved the problem by creating WISPs. Some entrepreneur would create a WISP and then connect people to the internet, just pay $400 a month, and you get a 10 meg per second link. So we created Herotel, and the idea was to buy them all up one by one, and then create a national alternative to telecom for home broadband in the rural areas, and then push into the cities. We bought 32 companies or so over the next 7 years. It was a successful. Everyone we bought, we ended up with 2,000 employees, and then we turned it into a fiber company. So, moving our wireless equipment to the edges and putting fiber in the middle. It's not the biggest, non-metro fiber company in the country. I think it's the third biggest or fourth biggest fiber company in the country. But it was a great success story. But our partners and I, at some point or another, had a disagreement about which direction we wanted to go in. I wanted to go into the townships. They felt the opportunity remained in the leafy suburbs. And we had a bit of a tug of war. And in the end, Vumatel bought it. So wasn't the ideal outcome. It's hard building a big business, but it is what it is. My partners all did well. I'm very glad the staff were looked after. And about 3 weeks after I'd sold out, my wife just subtly hinted that if I don't get out of the house, she's going to get irritated. So we started another business called Fibertime, which is focused on pure fiber internet in townships.
And what progress have you made? I understand like Fibertime offers like R5 per day internet in the low income areas. What progress have you made so far? I see you are getting excited.
No. So firstly, what is Fibertime? Fibertime is, for R5, you get 24 hours of uncapped 100 megs per second internet. So it's pay as you go. If you pay every day, it's 150 Rand a month for 100 megs per second internet. I think the Vumatel equivalent is about 1,000 Rand. So it's 85% cheaper than the market equivalent. We picked that number out of the sky, R5, because it sounds like a nice number and people got R5 coins. But it was all built on the basis that the townships have lots of people living in them, much more people living in them than, say, Bryanston. And so you can make your money back on the numbers. We started, I think, in April 2022. And the idea was we'd go into a township, we'd connect every single home. So we don't wait for you to phone us. We just connect every home with a free router and a free fiber connection from the pole into the township, into the home. And then just go to the nearest spaza shop. You can go to Kazang or Clash Merchant or ATT or on your Capitec app or anywhere. You can just pay R5 and you get a voucher number and you enter your voucher. You kind of look in your Wi-Fi code, your Wi-Fi SSIDs in your house. It'll say Fibertime. You click it, it says enter your PIN, and off you go. Super fast, world class, not shitty, not like bad, slow, crappy, unreliable wireless internet. This is fiber internet. It's the fastest internet you can get. It's the most reliable internet you can get. And it's super cheap, and you can pay as you go. So if you don't want to commit to 150 Rand at the beginning of the month, it's fine. You just pay R5. And if you don't want to use it tomorrow, you don't pay anything. And you want to use it the next day, pay R5. We had a lot of problems, a lot of challenges. Nobody in the world's ever done this before. No one in South Africa has ever done it before. Building infrastructure in townships is not easy. Mafias, construction mafias, protection rackets, shack fires, lots of challenges. Just the density. I mean, we're building in Alex. We've got about almost 8,000 homes in Alex. And Alex must be the most densely populated township in South Africa. There's just people living on top of each other. So how do you find your way through the shacks to dig a hole, plant a pole, and then from that pole, you've got to connect all these homes. I mean, some of our poles, they connect 32 homes to a single pole. So a lot of challenges. It's taken us a long time to figure it all out. Luckily, I've had patient investors, and a lot of people have believed in us, including banks like RMB, for instance. Without their support, we never would have got to where we got. And people believed in it not just because there's a huge business case. There is an enormous business case. There's 13 million homes in townships in South Africa. I mean, that's got to be a huge market. I mean, the traditional fiber industry has created 40 or 50 billion rands worth of value in 12 years, and they've only connected 2 million homes. And we've got 17 million homes in the country. And what we're doing is trying to unlock that massive chunk, 80% of the market, which is not in the leafy suburbs, which hasn't been connected, which presents a huge economic opportunity. And people wanted to support us because they could see that upside, but they also wanted to support us because a lot of people in South Africa can see that it's not a fair society. And unless you make it a little bit less unfair, we're not going to have a future. It's just not right. And the township, putting fiber internet, affordable fiber internet in townships is a great lever to move the needle. Moves the needle for jobs, moves the needle for education, just for boredom. So about a year ago, we probably got things right. We started scaling outside of Kayamandi. Kayamandi is the township outside of Stellenbosch where we started. And now we're in PE, KwaDubuhle, Zwide, Motherwell, a Walman location, KwaZulu, in Cape Town, we're in Poleni, Kraaifontein. I think our highest revenue is actually Kraaifontein. We're getting into Khayelitsha, we're going to Gugulethu now, going Nyanga. Joburg, we're in Alex, we're in Ivory Park, we're going soon into Mamelodi. In Durban, we're in KwaMashu, we're in Bloemfontein, we're in Mangaung Township. So it's a national business. We've got 700,000 homes in work in progress. And that's just a drop in the ocean compared to the 30 million homes out there. So we're just going as fast as we humanly can because there's a huge opportunity and there's a lot of people needing affordable, uncapped internet.
Awesome. So how many homes have you connected so far?
In total, about 97,000.
97,000.
Yeah, I think we're going to do 100,000 by next week or so. You know, we connect.
Is it?
We can connect up to 700 or 800 homes a day. I mean, I might be wrong. I'm not really good in that detail, but you know, sometimes we do 600, 700, 800 a day. It's growing all the time. We're doing multiple townships at the same time.
Awesome.
And we're not passing homes, we're connecting homes. So every time we say we're connecting a home, we connect a home. It's not a home that's one day going to be connected. It's got a home with a router in it. And almost immediately people start buying vouchers.
I understand you've got a partnership with Nokia.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us
Well, it's a partnership where you buy stuff and they give it to you. So they're a supply. But we chose them because their equipment's very reliable.
Okay.
And also, you know, a lot of people in the townships remember Nokia as a great brand.
Yeah.
So they like it. And it's world-class quality, so we're not putting bad quality in. Nokia's worked very nicely with us from the beginning. They kind of share the stream. They see the opportunity down the road. And so we put their kit in on the active network.
Okay. So besides RMB that you mentioned, like they are backing your business, who are the other backers for fiber?
I put a bit of my own money in. In other words, my wife's a big backer. And I've got a couple of private individual, private investors. We haven't got any institutions really. So we were quite lucky. We were staying under the radar. We obviously will reach a point at which we probably need some big institutional backers, and we may even be listed one day. We're a big business. We're going to be a big business. I hope, please God, and I hope we're going to be a big business. And telecoms is about capital. So you can't really get super big unless you've got access to large amounts of capital, which probably means a listing or something like that one day. But for now, we're just concentrating in connecting homes.
Interesting. Also, just maybe to look at the competition in, I see a lot of your competitors are also venturing into Alex. I once went to Alex where they were, I think it's Fuma that was launching, I think it's Fuma Key or something like that, which is also kind of cheap, also targeting that market. How is competition going in that particular market?
I think the competition is working up. There's a great crowd called Net99. I think they're more out of Krugersdorp. Great crowd. I mean, I definitely keep my eye on them. I think most of the guys have woken up to the fact that there's the only growth opportunity left is townships. No one's doing it the way we're doing it. Vuma's by no means to be underestimated. They've been in Alex now for about 4 years. We only got there about 6 months ago, so we're kind of taking them on head to head a little bit. But we don't see it as competition. You know, our stated aim is to connect everyone in South Africa to the internet. That doesn't mean we have to connect to the internet. It just means that our aim is to connect everyone to the internet. And if other people copy us, or if others are doing it successfully and we can copy them, great. Because it's more about just getting everyone on the internet. You know, we don't wake up in the morning thinking we better go to work because Vumatel, for instance, is going to come and eat our lunch. We say we must get to work because there's families out there that don't have uncapped internet. Those families have to can't email their CVs. Kids can't do their homework at home. People can't look on YouTube and look for role models or teach new skills or anything like that. So there's a lot of freedom that the internet provides, and a vast majority of South Africans don't have access to because they don't have affordable uncapped fiber, and that's what drives us. It's not the competition that drives us; it's the purpose.
Awesome. And also looking at just the digital divide in SA, I know you are trying in the townships like your Alex, your Kamandi. What about like the rural communities?
Yeah, that's a
Do
big
you
one.
guys have plans to also connect the rural communities?
So we do have plans, but that's not on the priority list. Our priority is the most densely populated communities where most people are living. So it's the metro townships. Eventually, we'll get to the rural communities, like say, for instance, Zululand and Toyandu and Transkei, or the former Transkei. We might even get to the leafy suburbs one day. Because it's not just the per that one pays you go internet, it's people living in Bryanston and Sea Point. So, but at the moment, it's really a priority on metro townships. But I mean, just to give you an idea of the impact of this kind of thing, one of our first customers in Kaimandi, her name's Andiswa, she came to us, she told us the story. She used to, before we put Fibertime in, she used to commute to a call center job in Belleville, 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, every day, 900 Rand a month, 80 hours a month in a taxi, 900 Rand a month in taxi fare. And we put it in fiber, and she could tell her employee she's got fiber at home, and her employee said you can work from home as long as you got fiber. If you got wireless, you can't work from home. It's too expensive, unreliable. But fiber, sure. So she could work from home. She saves herself 80 hours a month that she used to spend in a taxi is now her time. She's saving herself 790 Rand net because she spends 110 Rand a month now for 22 days of fiber time, 22 days at 5 Rand a day. So she's saving 790 Rand a month. That's money in her back pocket. She's doing an online company secretarial course now with the extra time that she's got and that fiber time that she's already paid for. And most importantly, she's spending all day at home and she can see where her kids are. The big thing was she was away from home all the time. She leaves before the kids go to school. She gets home after the kids are like finished their homework. Supposedly, she doesn't know if they're doing homework. She doesn't know who they're hanging out with. She doesn't know where they are. It's dangerous. And it's completely changed her life. And that's a massive social impact. It's an economic impact, an educational impact, and a social impact. And she said one of the funniest things she said is, thank you so much. Because for the first time in my life, my kids don't go outside. They stay inside. That's different from my life. My wife wants her kids outside, but she wants her kids inside because where she lives, it's dangerous outside. So massive impact. And the townships is the biggest concentration of people and our biggest priority.
Just to take you back, you mentioned the challenges that you faced when you were setting up Fibertime. You mentioned things like those gangs, what you call it, mafia, construction mafia. Can you just tell us, like, how big is it a problem? Like,
it's a massive problem. I think a lot of people like myself are worried about crime in South Africa, but it's much more dangerous than the township. So it's been a very humbling experience building a township business because I don't complain about anything anymore. I mean, it's, if I'm worried about my daughter's and physical safety where I live, it's much more dangerous in Kaimandi and Alex in Khayelitsha. So, the government basically stops at the edge of the township. I mean, we get a municipal way leave, but when you're in the township, you don't phone the police if something goes wrong. And the township looks after things itself. There are local authorities, authority. And the local authorities are effectively construction rackets or protection rackets. And we've had to work our way through that. But we work our way through it not by paying bribes or anything, but by engaging with the community, accepting the fact that it's not the municipality that's in charge, meeting the ward councillors, meeting the heads of the various local authorities, meeting the church leaders, meeting the principals. You just meet all the leaders and you go through a very long, careful process of showing respect and making sure you understand the lay of the land before you build. And for the largest extent, one of the big challenges you can overcome by just using local labor. So we are very careful not to just bring random people in from the outside. Wherever we can, we create local jobs. And that by itself kind of solves the problem. And then you've got to get the network live. Once the network's live and people are using it, then it's relatively safe. But there's a big chunk in the middle that's
then they start to see also the benefits of the network itself.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people in South Africa, they don't actually appreciate how unbelievably awesome uncapped fiber is because they've never experienced it. Exactly. It's like trying to explain sex to a virgin. And the only way to explain it is do the real stuff. And we do find it changes people's lives once they're using it, and then they find it very valuable and the community looks after it.
Great stuff. Maybe just looking at the South African fiber market more broadly. Recently, there was this deal between Vodcom and Massive that was prohibited by the competition authorities in South Africa. What's your take on that major deal?
Well, the company's called Massive. And it's kind of supposed to be merging with Vodcom, which is the biggest cell phone operator in the country. So that doesn't sound very positive for competition. But my personal perspective is, I think it's bad karma to criticize these types of things or block these kind of things. We've been invited a few times to participate in the process. We've stayed away. I think both parties have got a good argument, but I've read the Competition Commission's rulings, all of their rulings, and they've done a few, and they'd make perfect sense to me. So I don't think there's anything political in it. Obviously, no entrepreneur or businessman in South Africa really wants the government meddling or kind of interfering too much, because it's hard to do business when you don't know what the rules are. But in this particular instance, if the Competition Commission's mandate is to foster competition, I mean, I get the argument. And, whether it goes through or not, it actually makes absolutely no difference to us. There's 13 million homes in South Africa in townships that haven't been connected. There's more than enough space for everyone.
Yeah.
And I wish them all well. I mean, what I'd really like is just more capital in the industry, because the more capital there is in the industry, the more homes we're going to connect. And the more homes we're going to connect, the sooner South Africa is going to have a slightly less uneven playing field.
Great stuff. And also maybe projects like connectivity projects, like government-led, like say Connect.
Just give up on that. Just ignore it all. I don't even know how to start when I answer that question. There's absolutely no outcome from any of that, including from the cell phone operators and their own obligations for schools and stuff. There's no outcome. Can you look around? Can you see of all the billions of rands that have been spent in the last 20 or 30 years, any outcomes? Anybody's life been connected? Nothing. None of that works. I just ignore all of that. All of that must be ignored. And ignore actually getting money from the government as well for all that. You don't need it. There's money, there's good, honest, private sector profit to be made, providing internet in poor communities. We just need a good business model for it. And I've learned these lessons the hard way. I mean, I've lost a lot of money along the way. Lost money in Mxit. iBurst wasn't very profitable. We've learned a lot of lessons along the way. It starts with making it affordable, so low price, then making it pay as you go, then taking away barriers like install costs, and then not settling for wireless. Wireless is second-grade internet. It's like saying, oh, you're poor, so you can have second best, but it's better than nothing. That's not right. The fiber is the best possible internet connection in the world. You'll never go to a great city in the world like Japan, Tokyo in Japan, or Amsterdam, and find that people in the wealthy areas are sitting at home very happily on their 5G router. They're all using fiber because fiber is the best internet in the world. Every home in South Africa should be on fiber. Townships in particular, because that's the densest part of the population. And the densest part of the population needs fiber because there's less congestion. So, settling on just getting your head around the fact that it's not going to be easy. Putting fiber infrastructure into homes is going to be a lot harder than just putting a base station up and beaming 5G. Getting your head around that is the key. And then just pumping out infrastructure on a for-profit basis with no government subsidies, no government intervention. You don't need any of that. You just need to make it profitable and then get capital to fund it.
There's also, I'm just asking more broad questions now.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you have an answer. Like people, we are waiting for Stlink to launch here, and there's some complications there. Do we need Stlink
No.
as South Africa?
I think it'd be good. I think it's good business. But it's not like we need it. I mean, the townships can't use Starlink. There are too many people living on top of each other. But lodges, like little villages, mining companies, agricultural, farms, they could definitely use Starlink, and there's a huge amount of value there. It will come. Guaranteed. I mean, obviously there seems to be some regulatory headaches, but they'll get through all of that stuff and they'll figure it out. I mean, we're not the only country in the world that asks for local ownership of a company. So I don't know if that's really that big a stumbling block. There'll be some equity equivalent deal done, and then Starlink will be here, and that'll be great for everyone, But it's not going to solve for densely populated communities. Densely populated communities can only be solved with fiber.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alan. I think those were the few questions that I had for you. Maybe if you can just, looking into the future, what can we expect from Fibertime?
Fibertime?
Yes.
I don't want to make too many promises, Look, we only do one thing. We just try to connect people to world-class internet, make it affordable. We've got some international plans, so we'll not dip our toes into the water in other countries. There are a lot of cities in the world that are like Joburg. More cities in the world are like Joburg than they are like Tokyo. So there are slums and favelas and barrios and townships all over the world. We'd like to see if the solution we've come up with works in those countries. But in South Africa itself, I mean, we're nose to the ground. We've got 700,000 homes planned this year, 1.8 million homes for the next 3 years, 8 million homes for the next 7 years. And that's still less than 60% of the market penetration. So we've got a long way to go and a lot of money to spend before we get anywhere near the kind of saturation we need in South Africa.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Alan, for joining us on this episode of ITWeb TV. I hope to talk to you soon when you connect the next 1 billion homes in South Africa.
Thanks, my brother.
Thank you so much. That was Alan Knott-Craig, who is the founder of Fibertime. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, and thank you for watching.
This episode of ITWeb TV is brought to you in association with ITWeb Security Summit, the must-attend gathering of IT, security, and business decision makers. Visit itweb.co.za for more information.